Okay, here we go. Oh wait,
And we're live. Oh,
hey,
shit.
everybody, I can't watch yet.
Cue the music.
We're not ready. That's the line I learned cruising Nevada Avenue as a kid. Shut up, baby. You're taking it all. All 30 seconds of it.
There you go.
All right. Welcome to Are You Shitting Me, TMI, the podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Ron.
And believe it or not, we are bros. We are brothers.
Bros before hoes.
Bros before hoes. Interesting. We're just talking about Nevada Avenue.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know what he's talking about, that's the street we used to cruise back in the day in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
That was our, I don't know what they cruised here in Amarillo. Probably Polk Street. I think Polk would be sort of the equivalent of Nevada, but not nearly as cool.
Do they still cruise? Because I know you can't cruise Nevada Avenue anymore.
You can't?
No, they put a stop to that quite a while ago.
Sounds like a challenge to me.
That sounds, yeah. I mean, you want to talk about some stories? Holy crap, there's some stories, and those would be the ones we'd have to check the statute of limitations because some of them are a little sketchy.
Right. It's funny because I had somebody ask me not long ago. I don't even know what podcast we did, but they were asking about when are you going to share stories about the statute of limitations?
We're still waiting to find out if they're past.
Yeah, there's some things because there are just some things. Honestly, what was funny back then may have been considered crime. I don't know.
Well, there's some stories I could tell that I can guarantee you I'd probably still be in some sort of prison. Jubal, Merry Christmas, my friend.
Jubal,
haven't met you yet, but definitely look forward to getting down there to the Yeehaw State and saying hi.
Jubal, he's picking on our state, brother.
Oh, yeehaw!
Interesting. One of the things we are probably going to talk about is I think we can call it country living then and now. And
back then.
And you got me thinking about. Did you guys see the milking cow I put up on my Facebook?
Oh my God, I about pissed myself laughing.
Isn't that hilarious? that thing was funny, and the kids are happy.
Dude, you got to figure out how to post some of this stuff up there because I was dying laughing when I saw that. I was just like, oh my God,
dude, I should do that. I'm embarrassed. I hadn't even thought about that. I had to find a way to be able to put that up on here.
But speaking about cows, for those of you that don't know, Mike and our grandfather ran a dairy farm in Myron Stratton Homes back in the day, and so what led me to have this discussion this morning? Yeah, right, exactly. It was right around that time when we stopped doing this and we just pushed a button. But this morning, my oldest daughter is here from Washington State with her guy. And I do want to say congratulations to youngest daughter McKenna, who graduated UNLV last night for the winter 2023 program, bachelor's degree. So
good for her. Congratulations.
Overly happy for her. She's just a wonderful kid. She's going to go far. So anyway, back to my story. So we're having breakfast this morning with everybody, and Elena, who is our youngest granddaughter we adopted, says, "Papa, can I have one of these creamers?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, have a creamer, whatever, you know." And everybody else at the table, all the other kids are like, "Oh God, you're going to drink that?" And I'm like, "Hell, I used to take the cap off the freaking lid and scoop that shit off the top of it and eat it when I was a kid."
One of the best things I remember, so far as that goes, is getting fresh milk from the dairy and pouring it over, of all things, over a bowl of Wheaties.
Wheaties?
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you something. As a kid, that little bit of sugar, that's manna from heaven.
You know what Dad used to put the milk over all the time?
Cake. Pieces of
cake, and what else?
Cornbread.
Amen. That's why to this day people look at me like I'm just lost my freaking mind because I pour milk over my cornbread.
Do you really? I haven't done it in years. I know my wife's watching. Hi, Carolyn. I'm thirsty. She thought it was weird at first, but then whenever after we got married, when she would cut me pieces of cake, she'd always ask, "Hey, you want milk over it?"
Amen. But the funny thing is, Mike, I am now, and I have been for a long time, lactose intolerant. Cannot do
Are you
dairy.
really?
Can't do, oh, dude,
Man, I sometimes wonder.
rip me a new one.
Wow. I couldn't imagine because I love both Carol and I love milk way too much. And so I just, even if I became lactose intolerant,
I bleed white.
I mean, but you know, a lot of people don't. I don't want to, take over on yours, but a lot of kids today, a lot of younger people don't know what it's like to, play on a dairy, and
Yeah.
that's a thrill that we got. You, me, our cousins,
Yeah.
we all had the same experience, and milk the cows twice a day, 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. Played in silos full of feed grain.
Feed, yeah.
Are
Are you the same way, Mike? Can you I can drive by farm areas and dude, it'll take me back to Myron Stratton home like it was yesterday.
Amen, brother.
I can still picture the long driveway driving down to the house, and they had the school there that was it like for wayward girls or something, or
it was an orphanage.
Orphanage, yeah. And like I said, just driving by. One of the places that just sends me back the most is driving through little towns like Modesto, California, which are big farm areas, big dairy areas, and dude, we talk about it a lot, Mike, and you say it more often than I do, but it's just things that kids nowadays aren't going to have the ability to go back and draw from those types of memories.
No shit, Sherlock. Hey, you know what? You have to remember we're in Amarillo. And there's a big feed yard in Randall County, just south of here. And plus, we're just northeast of a city named Hereford. What we got there? But it's really funny because on a good night, especially in the summertime, you'll catch that odor, and a lot of people complain about it. For me, it just brings back my childhood, man. Because a lot of young folks don't know what that was like. Do you remember Grandpa and Dad actually making manure? It sounds odd.
I don't, but I remember dishing it out on the yard a lot as a kid.
Yeah,
talk about a shitty job.
Well, what Grandpa and Dad did is they sold it. So I got to drive the tractor a couple times, but we would take bucket full, and some are just off the dairy. Grandpa had a grinding kind of machine, and so you'd shovel the crap in the machine, it would grind it up, and then either load it up in Dad's truck or put it in bags. But it was a side hustle for them. We didn't know what it was. Dawned on me it was a side hustle.
But you know what, Mike, and I just saying that, and again, I think we're just going to riff it tonight. Fuck it. But it's Dad was just full of side hustles, man. I remember as a kid going up in the mountains and chopping wood all weekend long, and pulling back 2, 3, 4 cord of wood in Dad's truck, trip after trip. He'd sell 3 or 4 a cord of wood, and we'd keep one for the wintertime. And I look back at that stuff now, I'm like, no wonder why I am the way I am. I've always got like 5 things going on at one time.
Hey, and I've told you before, I apparently wasn't listening too much as a kid. I understood what Dad was doing, but I think for me, Dad had a wood splitter, and his name was Mike.
Matt, were you afraid of the cows?
Matt scared the cows. He said it was awesome, even though I scared the cows.
No, he said, I was scared of the cows.
What were you doing to the cows, man?
Yeah. Here, hold this bottle rocket.
Hey, Mike. My first real sex talk. This is a funny one here. My first sex talk.
Oh my God.
Grandpa. I kid you not, man. My first sex talk came from Grandpa and Ray Taylor. Now, Ray was the cat that helped Grandpa, and always called him a Skeeter. And so Grandpa had a bull named Smokey. I actually have Smokey's plate sitting behind me. And so we were out at the wherever Smokey hung out at, and so they were going to breed a cow, and so Grandpa made me go watch, and so I got everything except for that, and
Man, that's a huge penis.
But here's a really funny story. Is not long after that, I may have shared this with you guys before, but I was sitting at the desk in Grandpa's office there in the dairy, and I was kind of going through the desk drawer, and I came across a little thing on a keychain. Well, I'll put it to you this way: when you put it to your eye and look through it, you saw yourself a naked worman.
Oh boy!
And so I'm sitting there as an adolescent going, yeah, this'll work. I may have to go to the bathroom here in a minute, but and so about that time, Grandpa and Ray come walking in. Now Ray's laughing his ass off. He thinks it's funny. Hey, look what Skeeter got. Grandpa, it pissed him off because apparently Grandma didn't know Grandpa had them things in the desk. And I got in a wee bit of trouble there, but
busted.
So just funny stories, but no, that's just something I wish kids could experience, and it is that bit of country life. But I know for you, it's you and Michelle. I know you like to go to Montana. I know you got a little bit of that big sky in you.
Well, and it's funny talking about Montana. Smell of money. Everybody loves the smell of money. We were I was talking to Michelle's uncle who lives up in Missoula the other morning. Oh, sorry, Saturday morning. And I'm like, Jack, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm trying to figure out how you fart in a diver's helmet. I'm like, oh, you must be watching Wednesday's podcast when I made the comment of fart in a diver. That'll go over like a fart in a diver's helmet. He goes, yeah, it's kind of my Saturday morning ritual. I get up, have my coffee, and I YouTube your podcast here in Montana.
Hey,
so people do watch.
Thank you, Jack. Yeah. Be sure to tell your friends.
Jack is a hoot, man. He is the epitome of redneck, Montanian or whatever the hell you call it. He's got the white beard down to here. I've never seen the man not wearing overalls. And he says when he dresses up, he wears the shirt on the outside of the overalls.
That's his Sunday go to meeting clothing.
Amen. Just a real cool cat. He's the one that I went up there and I took my small arsenal and we were going to go shooting, and Jack's like, well, let me go grab a few of my guns, and I literally stopped counting at like 100. I'm like, are you expecting company, Jack? Is there going to be an alpaca rise up in Montana?
Well, it's better than the apocalypse. I know about the Montanans.
Oh,
they're prepping for the end.
He always jokes. He goes, because that's where they filmed A River Runs Through It, the movie. Okay, he goes, yeah, here in Montana, we call it A Lawyer Runs Through It.
Oh my! But see, Jack strikes me as the kind of cat I'd like to just pick his brain, just sit down and let him tell me story after story.
Mike, and Michelle calls her dad every Saturday religiously, and so I've kind of taken it upon myself to call Jack every Saturday, and it's nice because it's very similar to like the relationship that you and I have now, that we can literally sit and talk about anything, non-judgmental, no emotions involved. Yeah, you're wrong, I'm right, whatever, but you can sit and have a civil conversation. And there's been many times he and I'll be in Montana and he and I'll be sitting on the front porch smoking a cigar and hey, I hate this politician, I hate that politician, fuck your religion, well, fuck yours too. Let's grab a beer. Okay, cool.
Really, Uncle Jack? More of a Crown guy?
Yeah.
Maybe up there. No, but you're right. And honestly, that's why when actually, again, credit to Ron, not me, when he started to put the podcast together, when he came up with the idea, we did agree very early that we wouldn't get into politics and religion, because politics and religion, that discussion in any household is just cancerous.
Sure, it's going to start a fight.
Yeah, and so I'm much more about keeping the peace, and but listen, I also love the Uncle Jack approach that you just described. Is we can talk about I hate this, I hate that, good, I hate that one. Now we got that off our chest. Let's go shoot something and have a beer.
Amen.
Awesome.
And you know what? And I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but beer makes everything. But amen. I like the way you think. Like the way you think, Rogers. But and I always say it, Mike, and I think I've said it on here before, but I'll say it again. Yeah, the world would be a much better place if everybody was just blind.
You know what? I heard another one just this week, and I was telling a friend of mine on my show yesterday. He happens to be a sergeant on the police force, but after the show, we were talking about, we learned that we're both dog people, and I said, "Hey, Carla, I saw somebody post something here recently, and it said the world would be a much better place if we all lived as if we were dogs."
Dude,
and if you think about it,
we talked about that.
It is absolutely true.
Ed Milet, I told you, watch the podcast. It says it's I'll tell you what it is, 10 things I learned from my dog. And that's after I watched that, I'm just like, good Lord, if we were all dogs, it'd be such a happier place.
It would be. I mean, when you think about it, I took a video last year coming home, and I started it as I was coming through the garage, and I just started recording. I said, for those people that wonder why Carolyn and I have dogs, you're about to see it. And as soon as, oh my Lord, I still had the 3 girls and my other little dog, and they all had toys. They were excited. They were happy. They stand up. And there's something about coming home to that is just, but it's just true. If we would all live like dogs,
they're non-judgmental. They don't try to fix anything. They don't try to change your mind on anything. They don't. You could accidentally step on them and hurt them and be like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And 2 seconds later, they're like, "What happened?" Well, and they go after things fervently. They go after things. You ever watch a Chihuahua bark at a Rottweiler? He doesn't know he's a Chihuahua.
They don't.
He thinks he's just big and bad.
One of my dogs, Archie, likes to run to the fence line with the house next door because they have a dog, and I keep threatening to put a hole in the fence just to see what they would do, because they'll bark like hell at each other. But I know damn good well if I put a hole in that fence, they'd probably play, and that's just the way they're built. They're built, until they come face to face, physically, and they go, "Dude, I'm cool."
You ever watch that TikTok or that video? If people were like their dogs, and the dude is a chain link fence, and there's people walking the sidewalk, and the guy goes running down the fence. "What are you doing? What are you doing? It's my yard. Get away from my yard. What are you doing over here?" And just yelling
up. I know we're getting a little bit off, but that's okay. That's kind of what we do here. But getting back to the country life, you and I and Don and Matt and Roger and David, even Nicole and Amanda, all the cousins, to our grandfather, what he was it was known as the herdsman. Grandpa was the herdsman for the Myron Stratton home. He was that for pretty much all of his life. But yeah, he got to run the dairy, which means we got some very unique experiences. And it's, again, when you think, it's easy to look back now and think to yourself, God, if only we had known then what we were experiencing, we might have, worked a little harder at it. The other aspect of the Myron Stratton home was, and it's still around, and it still survives off the endowment left behind by Myron Stratton. Myron Stratton made his money in gold and oil back in the day, and so this was his endowment. So the home still operates off that endowment to this day. But yeah, it was an orphanage, but it's also a retirement home for senior citizens. And the wonderful thing about it is it's not a building. It's not, like apartments. They're individual houses. And so when we were kids, one of the things I realized early on, other than we were probably going to get homemade ice cream.
Oh, that was the best.
God, wasn't that something, man? Whenever they broke out the ice cream.
I'm like chomping at the bit. I'm like, talk about the ice cream, Mike. Talk about the ice cream, Mike. Talk about the ice cream.
Yeah, anytime they break out the old ice cream maker, all the kids are happy. But they had, I learned that, talking to the senior citizens was really a great educational experience.
Absolutely.
Plus the Octobirds, who lived next door to Grandpa and Grandma at one time, also made very good candy and candy covered apples. So what you guys didn't realize, and whenever the older brother or the older cousin sort of disappeared, I was over at the Octobird's house soaking up candy, man. That's how this boy worked.
So I have a story to tell, Mike. And speaking of our dog, yes, I fed the dogs. Trust me, I would, yeah,
Really?
I would lose a limb if those dogs weren't fed when I got home. But so I want to tell a story about that, and it has and Mike, it involves you, and just kind of let me get through it, because you'll know exactly what I'm talking about once I start talking about it.
You're fine.
So Mike's talking about, the people making candy and the older people and the older generation growing up, and where grandma and grandpa lived. They didn't live on Myron right now. They lived, off in a house, a small house. And their neighbor was a guy that drove a Frito-Lay truck. So when we were kids, every time we'd go over to grandma and grandpa's, he'd be like, "Hey, open the door, come on in, grab some chips, cookies, pick whatever you want, blah, blah." And man, as a little kid, that was just like the best thing in the world, man. When you pulled up to grandma and grandpa's and you saw the Frito-Lay guy was home, you knew you were getting something. So let's skip forward to 30, 40 years later. Mike was out here in Vegas visiting. I think it was for one of my birthdays or something. I don't remember. And I'm taking him to the airport, and we're in the Southwest airline to get his ticket. And in front of us are some guys with their golf bags on, and Mike and I are like, "Hey, where'd you guys play at?" No. Well, we played here, but we're going back home. Mike, "Oh, where's home?" "Oh, Colorado Springs." And Mike's like, "Oh, we're from Colorado Springs, and yeah, we played here in this golf course." We're like, cool. So anyway, they leave, and the lady calls us up, and I'm getting chills. Seriously, every hair in my body standing up. So Mike and I get up to the counter, and there's a nice older lady behind the counter. And she's like, "Oh, I hear you guys are from Colorado Springs." And we're like, yeah. Mike's like, "Our whole family is. Our parents, my mom and her sisters went to school there. They went to Harrison." And she's like, "I went to Harrison." And Mike and I kind of like looked at each other like, "Okay." And she's like, "Well, who's your mom?" And she said, "Ann Shoemaker." And the lady's eyes literally started to well up. And she's like, "Is your Aunt Carolyn and Ethel?" And we're like, "Yeah. How the hell did you know?" And she says, "My name is," I can't remember her first name, but her last name was Grody.
Yeah, I can't remember.
And yeah, she goes, "I used to live next door to your grandparents." And she goes, "My husband drove a Frito-Lay truck." And like, even right now, I want to cry. Seriously. And
I forgot all about this fucking story.
Oh my God. And seriously, Mike, every hair on my body stood up. I had tears in my eyes. This lady's crying at the Southwest counter. Hold on. So
I forgot the story.
So, and then, and this is just a small example of how incredibly small this world really is. Right. And I want to tell you something that made it even smaller. This woman lives 2 blocks away from me here in Henderson, Nevada, just a suburb outside of Las Vegas. And wow. I tell that story so many times, and I can't tell it without welling up and just.
I completely forgot about that story, and I now have goosebumps all over me. It's I completely forgot, but now that you mentioned it, I remember that day. I remember both of us just totally freaking, because it started with the 2 guys that were golf, that had been there to play golf. Yeah. But when we went to the ticket counter, and she started it, I thought there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
And she did, and so y'all know. She did name our aunts, and Ronnie and I are looking at each other like, "How the hell do you know that?" Wow. I completely forgot that story. Now I don't even have the heart to lighten it up, because I have a funny story about the people at the door at the time. Their name was Chuck and Marty, and Marty or Chuck was the Frito-Lay salesman, and they had a daughter. And here's what's really funny about this entire, talk about a small world. Here you go. So I'm over there one day, and the daughter's out back sunbathing. Now she wasn't, this was many years ago, but she wasn't entirely ugly. And so Grandpa was at the kitchen window saying, "Hey, Mike, you need to go over there and talk to that girl. You need to go over there and introduce yourself as Grandpa." Carolyn's father, my late father-in-law, was a Little Debbie delivery man. He knew Chuck and Marty. So the family I ended up marrying into knew next door to Grandpa and Grandma.
Wow.
They had bumped into each other. They were both, they serviced, snack foods.
Oh, wow.
And so yeah, that's again, how small can the man you rock my world, kid, because I completely forgot that story that day at the airport, because I remember you and I mean, even when I got on the plane, I was still in utter shock.
Yeah. Even this day. And this was, how long ago was that, Mike? That had to have been 15 years ago.
I think it was one of your birthdays, and I want to say it's probably when you turned 35, maybe.
That was like 5 years ago.
I know. I know the restaurant we went to, we were able to see the skyline. So I remember going out and having dinner that night. I think it might have been maybe your 35th or 40th birthday.
So that would have been 15, 20 years ago. And there's Dave Thomas. Dave works for me. Dave's worked for me for quite a while. He's a very, very talented carpenter, and that's what he does. So I love seeing my grandma at Christmas. We made ice cream and chocolate pie and fudge. I tell you one thing. The one thing, Mike, I remember was Mom and Aunt Linda making fudge, divinity.
Get it, kid.
Yeah, and there was one other one too that I can't remember what it was, but it's one of those things too where every time I see it or I smell it or hear it, I'm just like, oh my God, I gotta have some.
Yeah. I'm not a big divinity fan, but I'm telling you what, I would have killed it back then. And but you're right. Mom and Aunt Linda getting together making fudge, divinity. I want to say peanut brittle, but I don't know.
No, you're right. Nope, you're absolutely right. Yep. Because Mom put it on that big cookie sheet with the plastic, with the wax paper on it, and yep.
So that's man, I'm glad we ended up taking this route, because it's about the time I think I forget things, and I do. Don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that to be funny. I really do.
No. But Mike, when I approached you on this and had to pull you by your hair, kicking and screaming to do it, that's exactly why. I mean, it's I want to, and let's face it, we're getting older and we're going to start forgetting things. And I would rather sit here and talk about this and remember things that are slipping our minds.
Yeah,
that's why that are important enough to remember, but we just maybe don't have the capacity to pull that memory until somebody tells the story, and you're like, man, you know what? Not only that, but ...
I'm going to tell you. I told Ronnie going into this tonight. I've been beat up today, literally and figuratively. Just not a good day. And my day, and I could cry right now, and that's how much that meant to me. That story about the airport, it was worth waking up for today. That was amazing. I'm so glad you shared that.
Amen.
That was because I completely forgot. Now that you mentioned, I mean, I'm back there and it is regenerating itself. And what a great day that was.
Yeah.
Just shocking as all get out, because I do. I remember getting on the plane thinking, holy shit.
Yeah. I got another one for you then. This will blow your mind. You weren't here for this one. This was on my 40th birthday. We were out in Lake Las Vegas, which is just outskirts of Las Vegas, little man-made lake. And Michelle, my wife, had taken me out there for a birthday party, and they had karaoke to a live band. And those that know me, I love to sing. I love karaoke. So I'm up there singing and chopping it up with the guys in the band. And, the one guy we're talking about, Colorado, he's like, oh yeah, I'm from Colorado Springs, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, we get to talking about it. And he's like, yeah, we lived in Village 7 up off a street called Sleepy Hollow. And I'm like, Sleepy Hollow?
2 blocks away.
I said, yeah, we lived on Debonair Circle. He goes, oh, did you live by a buddy of mine, Ralph Bruning? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, wait a minute. He goes, were you in the yellow house at the top of the hill? He goes, yeah. He goes, oh, hell, I used to babysit you guys when you were a kid.
What?
Like, oh, yeah. He knew Dad. He knew what kind of truck Dad drove. He knew the Brunings. He knew Nanny, the freaking dog that lived at the bottom of our hill.
Oh, Nanny. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah. So, again, it's just a small world, man.
Wow. And I'm trying to think of who it could have been.
I have no. I don't know.
Yeah,
I may have had a few cocktails that night. So, like Matt said, beer makes everything better.
Yeah.
Hey, did you guys see my shirt? My wife bought me a new Christmas shirt.
Now, is that really the Who shirt?
I think it's either the Who or the Grinch tree. One or the other.
It does look kind of like a Grinch tree.
Well, happy Grinchmas, bitch.
Well, and then so listen, I really appreciate it. I'm telling you, I'm not kidding you, man. It's the airport story was worth getting up for, and it just that's two things that happened today. I don't mind telling you, I'm not a superstitious guy, but I've had a crappy day. One of them involves Dad's sister, Aunt Linda Jean, and she's just not doing very well right now. And so I'm trying to help out there as much as I can. And in a moment of self-pity, I walked outside at one point today to let the dogs out, and out of nowhere comes this giant red cardinal, and it lands on a branch in front of me. And I have for years tried to take a good picture of a cardinal, and it just won't let me do it. Today, I'm sneaking the phone out of my back pocket. I'm talking to this bird. Hey, do you think you can stay there long enough so I can? Well, it flew off, but it flew over my head and came and landed on a branch. I shit you not, directly above my head.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there and I'm talking to it. And at one point, I just said, you know what, Dad? I'm doing the very best I can. And so just bear with me. I'll do what I can here, because her family, look, I'm being polite about this, but you know, they're kind of hillbilly-ish in a way, but I don't mean that disrespectful. I mean that respectfully.
I know what you mean.
But you know, they're just not very organized, and so you know what we went through with Dad. So I'm trying to help out there, and so as I'm talking to this bird, as if it's Dad. At one point, I looked down because I thought I was getting ready to drop my phone, and the bird flew away. As the bird flew away, and I shit you not, this sudden calm just came washing over me, and I thought, wow, for a dude that's not very superstitious, this was weird. And so it was just a great experience, and so I appreciate you a lot, and you let me share that. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, see it perfect.
That's the cardinal.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Sat right above my head.
That's awesome.
Now that I've gone Debbie Downer on you. What is one of your, just before we go, I know we're up against it.
God dang it, Michelle. Damn, we talked about cows earlier.
Yeah. So
go ahead, just ask, Mike. You
Carolyn wants the one I put up on my Facebook page that you pump the tail. Carolyn, oh my God, I want one of those.
That's great.
Okay, real quick. Think about one of your great experiences on the dairy, okay? Because the other cousins ask me all the time, what was your experience? My greatest experience is I'm probably one of the only cats left my age that can say they birthed a calf.
Sure.
And right. I took that baby, wrapped the chain around his grandpa, showed me how to, Ray was there, and you had to reach in, make sure, you weren't grabbing the neck. But yeah, they showed me how to chain it up, and I chained that little rascal out of there, and then I kind of nursed it along for a couple of weeks. It was, gross, but kind of fun. So that's,
dude, it's a life-changing thing.
It is. Man.
Simpler. I'm gonna leave you with two things. One, Mike, don't steer the river.
Amen.
Just sit in the boat, man. And what's gonna happen is gonna happen. And
flow.
God has a plan for you before you even have a thought of what that plan is, dude. Just ride the wave, and everything's gonna be good. Trust me.
Gotcha.
And two, yes, Michelle, I remember the cocktail I drank out of the cow's ass that night.
I'm hoping the hell she's asking you, because I don't know what the hell she's talking about. How fucking drunk was I?
Oh my God! Trust me, Michelle and I could probably sit and tell some stories of just the adventures that we've gone through over the past 18 years, and it's just
I
some
was
I
going.
recall, some I do not.
You guys were in Colorado. We all went out to. Well, we were trying to close down karaoke bars.
I think we did one. I think I got yelled at because I'm like, I'm from Vegas. We don't close bars.
Yeah. I was trying to think. Well, how inebriated was I? I don't remember a cow.
No, that was the one when we were in Lake Las Vegas.
I'm good there.
Yeah, that was in Lake Las Vegas. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
next time though, you'll have to ask Michelle about the guy in the wheelchair on the dance floor. That's always a good one.
Save that one because I need to know.
Well, you guys, thank you again for joining us. Kind of got off onto an emotional side there, but you know what? That's part of life. It's part of what makes us who we are, and it's part of Mike and I's experiences growing up, luckily on a farm. And the other thing I want to say, and Jack, if you watch this Saturday, one of my favorite sayings that Jack says is, what we need in this world in today's day and age are more farm kids. They got up at 2 o'clock in the morning and they didn't stop until the work was done. It wasn't, oh, my hand hurts. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I need a break. Oh, no, you worked until it was finished. And that type of tenacity and that type of drive is what's just non-existent in today's day and age.
I will tell you on that note, then the world can also use more Uncle Jacks.
Amen. Hey, if your Uncle Jack helped you off an elephant,
would you be helping your Uncle Jack off? That was okay. Real quick. So somebody was passing around a meme earlier, and it was had to do with Jack. I'll see if I can find it for. No, it's a video, and it had to do with a guy named Jack, and so I can't remember the full gist of it. I'll see if I can find it. But the friend that sent it to me, his name was Dan Ferguson. And I told Dan, I said, this is why one of my greatest fears has always been when I fly, I'm going to see somebody on the plane named Jack. And I'm going to.
Hi, Jack!
Oh, shit. Hit the floor!
Oh, shit. Well, I hope you guys join us next week. Love you, Mike. Matt, love you too, brother. We got to get Matt on here one of these times and get some of those memories. So, Matt, make it happen next week. Make sure Mike gets your email address, and we'll get you on screen live. Love you guys. Have a Merry Christmas, because we won't see you until next week.
Yep.
I hope you guys get everything you want.
Amen, brother. See y'all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.